Imagine a city where Rome exiled its defeated kings, a place so remote and powerful that it called it Little Rome. But this story didn't end up in the books you were told at school, it remained here, engraved in the stones, under an Abruzzo sky. Welcome to a journey through time, where the mountains hold age old secrets. Today I will take you to a place that for centuries was the beating heart of Roman control over central Italy, an impregnable fortress, a crossroads of destinies and forgotten histories. We are about to discover Alba Fucens, an archaeological jewel that, despite its strategic importance and undeniable charm, often remains in the shadows, waiting to be rediscovered. Get ready to walk on streets where legionaries marched and hear the echo of a past life, vibrant and tragic, at the foot of the majestic Monte Velino. It's a story worth hearing because it tells us not only about Rome, but about a piece of Italy that resists time, breathing the pure mountain air. Situated at the foot of the majestic Mount Velino, Alba Fucens was not just any settlement. It was an iron fist of Rome, planted forcefully in a harsh and wild landscape where the air is sharp and nature gives no concessions. It's no coincidence that the Romans, known for their pragmatic efficiency, nicknamed it Little Rome, and it wasn't a whim, but a recognition of its strategic importance and imposing architecture. Even today, when you approach what remains of those thousand-year-old walls, you perceive a grandeur that is almost disproportionate for such a mountainous place. Walls that have seen the passage of centuries, resisting earthquakes and bad weather, testifying to a mastery of construction and a desire for dominion that knew no rivals. This bastion, nestled in the beating heart of Abruzzo, wasn't there for beauty. It was a silent sentinel positioned in crucial territory. Its function was clear, obvious: to control central Italy, to keep an eye on the untamed tribes that populated the surrounding valleys, and above all, to act as a chessboard to maintain the political balance of the peninsula. In an era where borders were fluid and alliances shifting, having a strong and impregnable base like Alba Fucens meant having a significant advantage. A firm hand on the helm of the nation that was forming. Every stone of those walls tells of this history, of wars and peace, of military strategies, and of a power that extended far beyond the hills of the capital. It was the periphery that supported the center, the armed wing of a growing empire. Crossing the remains of those gates today is like stepping back in time. Once upon a time, crossing its thresholds meant immersing oneself in a true Roman microcosm. Imagine its cobbled streets, the same ones we walk on today, but back then they weren't silent and windswept. Oh no, they were a whirlwind of life, a constant hum of voices, footsteps, and metallic noises. Here the legionaries marched with their step measured and their shields reflecting the sun, ready to defend the limes or to set out for new conquests. And alongside them, or among them, moved the merchants, with their exotic goods and their stories from every corner of the empire, bringing the echo of the world here to these mountains. Today, of course, that buzz has died down. The stones are silent as if they were holding their breath, but if you stop to listen with a little imagination, you can almost perceive that distant chatter. The clinking of coins, the scent of spices, and the smell of wet wool. The true beating heart of Alba Fucens, the nerve center where every thread of city life was knotted and unraveled, was without a doubt its central market. It was not just a place of exchange, but a true stage of life, a triumph of colors, scents, and sounds, which today we can only try to reconstruct in our minds. Imagine stalls laden with every good thing, neatly arranged under the Abruzzo sun. There were wicker baskets overflowing with the freshest fruit and vegetables, just picked from the surrounding countryside, their bright colors standing out against the dark earth. Then, alongside these local products, there were the goods that arrived from everywhere, from every corner, even the most remote of the vast Roman Empire. Exotic spices from the Far East, the aroma of which mingled with the smell of freshly baked bread and local cheese. Fine fabrics, soft wools, and shimmering silks that came from Gaul or Egypt, carefully displayed to attract the eye of the wealthiest. Amphorae filled with olive oil from Puglia, wine from Lazio, ceramics from Campania. Every object had a story, every seller an anecdote to tell, perhaps in macaronic Latin or in one of the many dialects of the empire. This market wasn't just a place to buy and sell, it was an open air forum, a meeting place where news spread faster than official messengers. Here, business was transacted, alliances were made, and gossip was spread about the political life of Rome or the emperor's new decrees. The voices of the vendors praising their wares mingled with the chatter of the crowd, the crying of a child, the braying of a donkey laden with goods. It was a complete sensory experience, a symphony of life that resonated within the city walls. The legionaries, perhaps on leave, strolled through the crowd, observing with a careful eye or buying a small souvenir to send home. The Roman matrons, accompanied by their maids, bargained with determination, ensuring the best price for the most precious goods. Slaves carried heavy burdens, quote, while children played tag between the adults' legs, ignoring the gravitas of the place and enjoying the freedom of the moment. And then there were the artisans who displayed their wares: bronze and iron jewelry, agricultural tools, handmade footwear. Every shop, every corner of the market was a showcase of the skill and ingenuity of the Roman people and of all the cultures the empire had assimilated. It was a kaleidoscope of ethnicities and cultures that met and merged in this small corner of Abruzzo, bringing a breath of the entire world to the mountains. A place where economy, culture, and social life were intertwined in a single vibrant tapestry. Today, that din is replaced by the rustling of the wind through the weeds sprouting between the stones, the chirping of birds, and the imposing silence of the mountains. But the memory of that market, of that melting pot of lives, remains imprinted in the memory of the place, a tangible testimony to the vitality and complexity of Alba Fucens. And every now and then, if you close your eyes and let your imagination soar, you can almost hear the distant echo of that clamor, a whisper that comes from 2,000 years ago. But Alba Fucens wasn't just military strategy and crowded markets. It was also a place of great architectural beauty, where human ingenuity merged with the power of nature. Among his most extraordinary works, a monument stands out which, by itself, would be enough to tell the greatness of this city: the amphitheater. Not just any amphitheater, built on flat ground like many others, but a work of art sculpted, almost shaped directly into the living rock. A masterpiece of engineering and respect for the surrounding environment, which today leaves us speechless. Imagine the scene. The steps opened into a wide basin, cut with millimeter precision into the mountain, exploiting the natural slope of the terrain to create a scenic effect that no modern theater could match. And there, in the sandy arena, breathtaking shows took place, keeping thousands of people in suspense. Don't think about the luxurious spectacles of the Colosseum, with its ocean of crowds and sumptuous sets. Here, in Alba Fucensium, the grandeur was given by the setting, by the most imposing scenography one could wish for. The gladiators, with their gleaming helmets and tense muscles, faced each other in duels to the death. The clang of swords, the roar of the crowd, the cries of pain and triumph filled the air. But what made this show truly unique, what forever imprinted the image in the minds of those who attended, was the backdrop. Behind the arena, beyond the stands, there were no buildings or marble columns. There were the snow-capped peaks of Mount Velino, standing out majestically against the sky, a natural curtain of wild and untamed beauty. Think about it, while blood stained the sand and gladiators fought for their lives, the spectators' eyes could look up and get lost among the white, silent, and impassive peaks. It was a stark and powerful contrast, the ephemeral violence of man against the eternity and magnificence of nature. That amphitheater was a theater of life and death, a place where emotion was amplified by the surrounding environment, where every fight took on an almost mythical aura. The shouts of jubilation at a successful shot, the whispers of fear in the face of death, all mingled with the rustling of the wind coming down from the mountains, creating an unforgettable experience. Today, the arena is overgrown with grass and the stands are silent. But if you close your eyes and let your imagination run wild, you can almost hear the voices of that ancient crowd, the clash of weapons. In the breath of the mountain, a breath that has witnessed 2,000 years of history. Not only the roar of the arena, but also the silence of the temples was part of life in Alba Fucens. Walking among the ruins, one can still sense that sacredness, that sense of profound veneration that permeated the lives of the ancient Romans. Even though the deities have changed, the sense of a place where the sacred connected with the profane is tangible. Even today, some imposing pillars, defying time and gravity, rise towards the sky like fingers pointing towards the gods. They are the remains of magnificent temples, places of prayer, offerings, and complex rituals, which testify not only to the profound religiosity of this era, but also to the refinement and artistic skill of the Roman builders. Those pillars, with their elegant fluting and finely decorated capitals, were visible proof of a civilization that knew how to combine strength with beauty, power with grace. In those temples, priests officiated, citizens brought their supplications, festivals were celebrated in honor of Jupiter, Mars, or Venus, asking for protection, victory, or prosperity. The smoke of incense rose towards the sky, prayers resounded between the columns, and the silence was broken only by the ritual sound of instruments or the murmur of the faithful. It was another aspect of Little Rome, a place where even the gods had their home, protected by the mountains. But Alba Fucens also had a darker side, a function that few know about, and which makes it even more fascinating and melancholic. It was a place of exile. Yes, Rome, in its ruthless efficiency and policy of absolute domination, did not limit itself to defeating its enemies on the battlefield. Often, defeated kings, rebel leaders, inconvenient characters who could not be killed for political or expedient reasons were sent here to this remote corner of Abruzzo. Alba Fucens was their golden prison, their cage far from the center of power. Imagine the scene: a king, perhaps once powerful and acclaimed, now reduced to an exile, forced to live here, surrounded by the same mountains that the legionaries used for defense. Far from his people, his court, his glories, Alba Fucens became the place where these men, accustomed to commanding empires, had to confront their own downfall. Every day, looking out from their house, perhaps onto those same cobbled streets, they could see the imposing Roman walls, a constant reminder of their defeat and the power that had torn them from glory. Here, in this mountain silence, far from the chaos of the capital and the conspiracies of the palace, these kings were to contemplate the greatness of their past. The days of triumph and command now only a distant echo. It was a subtle but effective psychological torture. The limited freedom, the awareness of no longer being able to influence the fate of the world, the loneliness. It is likely that many of them spent their days remembering, regretting, dreaming of an impossible escape while the wind whistled through the mountains, carrying their sighs with it. One of the most famous exiles was Syphax, king of the Numidians, captured by Scipio Africanus, a man who dared to oppose Rome and who ended his days here in this remote outpost. O Perseus, the last king of Macedonia, who after having fought in vain against the unstoppable Roman advance was led in chains and then confined to Alba Fucens, deprived of everything but his memories and his regret. Its history, like that of others, is lost in the folds of time, but the memory of these illustrious prisoners adds a further layer of charm and melancholy to Alba Fucens. It was a city of contrasts, a Roman fortress and a place of exile, the heart of a civilization and a prison of defeated kings. A place where Rome's power was manifested not only in its ability to build and conquer, but also in his ability to break spirits, relegating his enemies to a silent yet majestic oblivion. Today, Alba Fucens is just that, a precious Gitsokchitsas but solitary jewel. It's not a mass attraction, not crowded with tourists like the Colosseum or Pompeii, and it is precisely in this solitude that much of its charm lies. Its ruins, exposed to the wind and the sun, breathe the pure mountain air, an air that has seen 2,000 years of history pass by. There is none of the hustle and bustle of modern cities, no honking horns or deafening crowds. Only the rustling of the leaves, the singing of the birds, and the deep silence of a place that has so much to tell, if only you listen to it. Alba Fucens is a fragment, a piece of imperial history that has been handed down to us almost intact. A piece of a much larger mosaic that allows us to grasp the complexity and grandeur of Rome. It is a window into a bygone era, a silent reminder of how civilizations rise, thrive, and then inevitably decline, leaving behind only the stones to tell their stories. Here, far from the chaos and frenzy of the modern capital, you can still feel the heartbeat of Rome, its ambition, its engineering, his ruthless will to dominate, and his ability to build something eternal. It's a place where history isn't just on paper but is palpable, you can breathe it, you can touch it. An inspiring experience that makes us reflect on the fragility of time and the eternity of human endeavors. Alba Fucens is not dead. It sleeps, waits, and continues to inspire anyone fortunate enough to visit. It's a place that changes you, a place that ties you inextricably to the past. And it makes you understand that even in the most remote mountain corner lies the greatness of a civilization that shaped our world. If this journey through time has fascinated you, don't miss the next video which explores other mysteries of ancient Rome.